Despite being a landlocked economy and a net importer of key goods, Rwanda is carving out a new path for its future. The country is stepping up investments in various sectors to accelerate economic growth. The nation's economy is witnessing a rapidly growing population, now at 15 million people. Economic projections remain largely positive at 6.6% for 2024, making Rwanda among the top 5 fast-growing economies in Africa.
When you look at the projections for economic performance this year, it remains strong. Let me say strong in terms of the global context, but in our own terms, we're used to growing average 8% for quite some time. We are not achieving that. We are not projecting that this time. But still, we are projecting a 6.6% growth for 2024. We had originally projected 6.2% growth for 2023 from a 9.2 achieved in 2022. But based on the numbers where we're in the first 3 quarters of 23 at 7.6% on average, for the first 3 quarters, we confident that we'll do more than the 6.2 had projected for 2023. And so based on all the components we see today, we think 6.6% growth is attainable, minus all the risks that we're talking about.
With sound leadership and a thriving financial sector, Rwanda continues to raise her global competitiveness. This was evidenced at a recent event dubbed the Kigali Economic Forum, where Rwanda stamped her authority as a nation on the precipice of a massive economic takeoff that will usher a new dawn for the country to become Africa's investment hub in the region.
So what is the Kigali Economic Forum first? It's organized by the Circle of the Economists, which is a group of scientific professors of economics that put it in place in 1992, created it. The main reason for the Circle of the Economists is having a debate on economic policy of the economic issues of the moment and what are the possible solutions and opportunities. The theme here in Kigali especially is an interesting one because it's in times of crisis, what are the opportunities for Africa? We've been in crisis for, let's say, the last 3 years. We started with COVID and so on and so on. Inflation, global inflation and conflicts over the world. But now, sometimes you get too much into the problems and the issues and you keep firefighting, you actually forget that there is a way out. There are opportunities even in the crisis. So for me, it's I believe that's what the Kigali Economic Forum is trying to do.
First about the Kigali Economic Forum, so this is the first. It is organized by a structure whose name is Le Cercle des Économistes, and which was created more than 25 years ago, and which is organizing every year in France, in a southern city, Aix-en-Provence, near Marseille, what is called les rencontres économiques d'Aix-en-Provence. And right now, les rencontres économiques d'Aix-en-Provence, let's say the Aix-en-Provence Economic Forum, are the main event in the field of economics, if you like, in Europe. And this is, you have people from the business world, you have people from the administration, politicians, academics, students, and so on, who gathered, hundreds and even thousands of them. So why Kigali? First of all, because as you know, Kigali has all the amenities to accommodate international conferences, and especially this Kigali Convention Center where we are now. So Kigali has become, I think, the second city in Africa for organizing conferences, conventions and so on, just behind Cape Town. So it's quite an achievement because this was done within very few years, in a very short period. And also, as you know, the bilateral relation between France and Rwanda has been difficult in the past, but thanks to the leadership of President Macron and President Paul Kagame, there was this historical visit in May 2021. Before that, there were some other steps. For example, Louise Mushikiwabo, actually, she's among the guests, to this Kigali Economic Forum, and she was elected Secretary General of the Francophonia with the French support. So it was, a sign to show, that France and Rwanda were, I would say, closing their relations.
Anchored on strong economic fundamentals, Rwanda is showcasing various sectors as the country looks to diversify and build forward.
Tourism is one of the important aspects. We are certainly going to also work on minerals, but one of the important things for Rwanda is what are the issues that we face and what do you look as the opportunities coming from these issues? It's a global issue, it's an African issue, but food security has been an issue for Rwanda. Now, what is important is how can we change this problem into a solution? And for me, it's agriculture. It's one of the big aspects. Investing in agriculture, but agriculture that is even resilient to climate shock and being able to export from this agriculture. This is so very much we are trying to attract private investment in agriculture, to have agriculture that is modern, and government is doing the basics, putting in place the foundations to make sure that agriculture is not a problem to Rwanda anymore, but actually part of the solution. Of course, the other thing is also looking at services. I was talking about tourism, but building on the young population that we've got, training people, if necessary, even attracting talent from outside, but making sure that we've got a service sector that works well. And you are talking about the financial sector, but part of it is the Kigali international financial sector. We can create a lot of jobs for accountants, for lawyers, for whatever you may want to think about. The main thing is, do we have the right training for these people? Are we able to actually get the young people trained fast enough to be able to respond to the demand that is coming, that we see coming? And that's one of the important aspects. Yeah?
The Kigali Economic Forum was not just a meeting of minds, but a forum for economic actors to ask the hard questions and take stock of what economic policies will define the continent.
All our countries are basically muddling through and trying to adjust to crises that could have been anticipated, most of them, but were not anticipated enough. So we are in a reactive mode. And one of the challenges, and this is part of what we are discussing in this forum, is how to prepare for similar situations in the future and to move from a reactive mode to a proactive mode, including for issues such as the debt crisis in many African countries. We still react to the debt crisis and we try to deal with past crises, but we don't spend enough time asking the question of the kind of structural changes that could be necessary, not to prevent future crises, but to make sure that they can be managed at a lesser cost. So this question of being always reactive to crisis is, I think, a big issue in the world economy and in the world political sphere today.
In a fast evolving region, Rwanda is taking proactive steps to be a bastion of hope as the nation attracts significant investments.
Well, what is interesting in Rwanda is, first of all, this is a business-friendly country. Secondly, also, this is a very secure and stable country. So this is important, for entrepreneurs who want to invest, especially in a foreign country, Other point also, there is no corruption, which is a very good point. So I would say, okay, Rwanda is not yet a big market, because Rwanda is a tiny country, only 20,000 26 square kilometers, but 13.5 million people. The population is growing, and we know also that economic growth is there. So this means the market will expand. This is a good point. And also Rwanda is a good country for POC, for proof of concept. So let's imagine you are an entrepreneur, French or whatever European. You have an idea, of a business that you want to promote in Africa. You think, well, maybe instead of starting, I don't know, in Kenya or in Nigeria or in Ivory Coast, maybe I can select, a country which is a little bit smaller, but very friendly for investors, for foreign investors, with a stable economy, with also a financial place and so on, and I can start my business here. So I think this is the card, if you like, the assets that Rwanda can play.
Steady financial flows into Rwanda has set the country apart thanks to a growing ease of doing business coupled with political stability. Investments in infrastructure have begun paying off for Rwanda. The financial sector is among the top performing industries for the country.
Rwanda is ranked, I think it has, I don't remember what it is today, but I think it's the fourth on the continent in terms of doing business. So it's very open to business. There are several sectors in which people could invest in today. You followed, of course, the trend happening in Rwanda. Industrialization is one area that is key for investment in Rwanda. Tourism is on its growth, steady growth. That's a big area for investment. You've seen agriculture. You've seen programs to transform agriculture into proper mechanized farming, using limited land, but to produce a lot, like it is done in Europe. There are opportunities in energy, you've seen. There are opportunities in infrastructure. Yeah, the opportunities in IT. Of course, you are aware that Rwanda soon is becoming the financial center of the region. There's enormous opportunities there. So Rwanda is open to trade, and I mean the message is always out clear from our leader, the president of the country. He has constantly put out this message to not just us but to the world aside, and we have seen a steady flow of investors coming to the country, and with positive rating, with positive commentary, with positivity.
Africa is a continent who's already missed the previous revolution, like agricultural revolution as well as industrial revolution. And now is the time to Africa to face this transformation through digital with their own people, their own talent. That means that we have boost our way to transform our education in total areas in Africa in 55 countries.
For the advancement of the financial sector, Rwanda has placed emphasis on developing her public sector to spur more private sector investments.
If you look at the Kigali Economic Forum, as a meeting of minds to actually see what are the problems and the way to get out and the opportunities at the same time, I would believe that we can get very good ideas and very good solutions that would serve policy making in Rwanda. So mainly the idea of the forum is serving policy making, not only in Rwanda, even in the region and on the continent. One of the things that I remember the guest of honor was mentioning is there really is no way Africa is going to develop, or even Rwanda is going to develop, if we don't get a regional approach. We need to go regionally, and that's why the EFCFTA is very important, but we need to think beyond EFCFTA. How do we think regionally? It means, how do we create regional value chains? If you've got good weather in Rwanda, you get good agriculture, then what does it mean for Kenya, for Uganda, for Tanzania? If in Rwanda we are able to refine some minerals, what does it mean for the neighboring countries? Are we actually, today, we extract minerals and value addition is, processing is done somewhere else, out of the continent, completely out of the continent. Can't we think regionally? Because when we talk about the energy transition today, all the critical minerals are actually here, around Africa. Central, Eastern, Southern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, a lot of this depot of minerals. Why is it that we can't discuss regionally and actually say, you know, you've got lithium, you've got something else, can we put the refinery or the processing plant here in Africa? And that's what we are starting to work towards. So some of the work is happening, but at the same time, we need more people to come on board and agree that this is the thing. And investment is not an issue. Reality is, for the critical minerals, we've got the minerals. If we came together as a region, I don't think investment in processing will be an issue, because these are things that are needed all over the world, globally. So any investor would be very happy to invest in that.
The country's apex body, the Rwanda Development Board, has been pivotal in driving this remarkable progress. By having a one-stop shop for key government services, this has handed the country a lifeline in fast-tracking business registration.
Doing business in Rwanda, as you know, you are familiar as much as I do, is the simplest. Registering business here, follow-up mechanisms, support by government agencies, support by revenue authority, smoothness of doing business in particular given time, and a reporting mechanism where you meet challenges. Of course, you know that Rwanda Development Bank, or rather Rwanda Development Board, has an aftercare mechanism, and they follow up on most of these projects that are established in the country to see how well they're performing, which challenges they are meeting, and how to mitigate those challenges, or even solve them completely, and the project moves ahead.
All right.
So yes, Rwanda is open, and we really see it going forward, and we are happy. We think there will be more and more interest in doing business in Rwanda by not just us Rwandese, but even by other outsiders.
It's good that you're actually talking about it. The very first session of this Kigali Economic Forum is about youth. Train the youth, educate the youth, because they are the levers of prosperity. That's really the first session that is happening right now. But, you know, and that's true. People keep saying African youth is an opportunity for the demographic dividend, but it is a challenge if we are not turning them, if we do not realize the potential that our youth represent, it is becoming a problem. You know? And of course, I can't say that, you know, the issue is bigger than the solution. Of course, we always see the issue more than we see the solution. But reality is, you know, someone was saying, we are a lot more educated than we used to be. Yeah? I think if you take the average in Africa, 65%, almost 70%. We even have countries where in Africa you've got more than 90%. Now, the issue, as you are saying, is employment. Are they trained for employment? Do they have the skills that allow them, even in times of shocks like COVID and others, to actually say, we are not losing our income completely. Even if I lose a job, I can still, with the skills that I've got, I can move to another job, shift sectors. Now, in terms of industrialization, and I will keep it really the same way you do the connection, employment, industrialization, and climate. I was talking about the energy transition. I was talking about the critical minerals for the energy transition, but that's a huge opportunity to create jobs. From the extraction to the processing to the selling. it's a huge opportunity to create jobs. The only real thing is, are we getting our acts together across the continent to actually make it happen? And I think governments, but even regional bodies, and even meetings like the Kigali Economic Forums have got a good role to play to actually say, you know, we all see the same issue, but we all know what is the solution. When you've got a meeting of minds, it becomes easier to implement the policy, because it's not only policymakers understand it the same way, but the private sector also understand it the same way, and they know that they will benefit, they will make profit out of it. It will require efforts from them, investment, but they will make profit out of it. So I think it's the way I would look at the opportunity of the Kigali Economic Forum for the youth and the solution that I see going forward. Yeah.
Over the last few years, Rwanda has built a solid global reputation, drawing in attention of top financial leaders.
We have had great partnership with Rwanda, and it has grown even stronger during the time of the pandemic and the difficulties Rwanda, Africa, the world have experienced. What we have in Rwanda is very strong foundation for macroeconomic and financial stability, and that means for growth and jobs. Over the last years until the pandemic, Rwanda had impressive record of growth. What we see now is it is being dented by the combined impact of the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Just to give you an illustration, we are projecting growth for 2023 at 6.2%. Before the pandemic, our projection was higher. Before the war, it was higher, about 1.7%. Is being taken away by exogenous factors. We had very engaged discussions here with President Kagame, with the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, the government, on how the fund can continue to provide Rwanda with policy support and also financing for a very ambitious green agenda. Rwanda is remarkable in the way it has integrated climate action and more broadly environment into development planning. I had the chance to see today an investment in wetland restoration that has tremendous benefits, not only from a biodiversity standpoint, but also protecting the city from floods and creating a better living environment for the urban population. This thinking is also reflected in the engagement we have on the Resilience and Sustainability Trust, in which Rwanda became the first African country to tap into this new instrument with $319 million commitment from the fund. What we are aiming for is to support Rwanda's ambition to have strong policy foundation for more financing, especially private sector financing, but also from the partner community, for shifting dramatically to low carbon path of development, and very important for making Rwanda more resilient to climate shocks.
IMF's Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, who made a recent visit to the country, lauded Rwanda's efforts in exercising prudent fiscal management, affirming the fund will continue to work closely with Rwanda.
Let me stress that there has been a remarkable shift in political attention to climate change in Africa. A decade ago, many of the African leaders would think of climate change as a rich country problem. But since then, multiple climate shocks, floods, droughts, storms have brought the climate issue very close to the lives and livelihoods of people in Africa. So the interest in Africa is primarily in building resilience to future shocks, but also interest in the green transition, because moving to low carbon growth means new source of jobs. As you know, in Africa, this is number one priority given the youthful population. What Rwanda demonstrates are three prerequisites for success. First, rule of law, policies and regulations that are predictable, that define the investment environment. Number two, having clear investment plans that bring innovation, bring young entrepreneurs, bring mature investors into Rwanda. Three, and the third one is hugely important, education of the population. I met with young leaders, and what impressed me is that they're concentrating a lot of attention on school children, on the future of Rwanda. These ingredients of success, strong policies, strong investment plans, and support from the public, this is what we want to marshal into other countries. We see a huge opportunity for success in Rwanda of our Resilience and Sustainability Trust to mobilize private finance that would then translate into success in other places in Africa.